Hi, everyone. Mike White here, and welcome to this week's blog post. I've been speaking to clients this week. We're seeing a pretty strong surge in not only contracts coming in, but people coming in for pre-approvals. And with that, we're starting to see a rise in calls from realtors to loan officers with challenging deals that people have put contracts together and at the last minute are having issues closing their loans or getting a closing date, or people finding out that they're not qualified, and any number of things that are going on. And that's led to a couple of discussions and reminded me to remind you about really focusing on the power of your pre-approval. Many of us take it for granted, but we forget that our pre-approval is something where we can differentiate ourselves from our competitors in our market. It is the beginning of the process that the public sees and really has no comparable to say, well, this pre-approval is stronger than another. And so that's where I want to make sure that you're out there on the streets, and when you're doing your pre-approvals, that you're making the case as to what your pre-approval is, how you've come to that conclusion, in fact, who you are, the person issuing that pre-approval. And, step number one is we forget to remind our realtor referral partners, both our buyer agents and our listing agents, that they really ought to know who it is, who's the name behind the pre-approval, who's the name, who's the company, what's the person, what's their experience. Because let's be honest, pre-approvals are kind of a weird thing. There is no standardization as to what a pre-approval is. Even loan officers in the same company, in the same office, have different procedures of looking, reviewing, and what they choose to do when it comes to issuing a pre-approval. And so getting in front of specifically what you do, making sure that people know, your customers when they come in, your referral partners, as you send them out there, is understanding what your pre-approval process is, the documents you've seen, the things that you've verified, the information that you reviewed, the calculations that you've made, how you've come to your conclusion, and the time at which you're going to be able to convert any contract into a closing. And so it is imperative that you remember that your competition may not be doing as much work as you are. They may not be reviewing the same information as you do. In fact, one of the things that I talk about, a lot is understanding, again, that process, because many people, clients and realtors alike, don't understand what's involved. In fact, many of my clients are out there issuing video pre-approvals to go along with the standard pre-approval letter to help explain to the client and to the seller and to the listing agent the steps that were already taken in the process. It helps bring the person behind the transaction. It helps explain to them that your pre-approval has been so well thought out and comprehensive in its scope that really all you're looking for is a copy of a contract of sale, an appraisal of value, title insurance, homeowners insurance, and the fact that nothing changes with the borrower's status between the time they go into contract and closing, and that you'll close the loan or the transaction in 30 days or less. This can become a very powerful tool that wins over and over and over again. This becomes something that you can do that really sets yourself apart, because other people don't do it. It's a form letter, and there's really no explanation. The other thing that you need to be aware of is, in some parts of the country, we're seeing very strong number of new loan originators out there, and they're doing making a lot of outreach and trying to get their opportunity. And some of the things that we have to take a look at is, you as an originator, make sure that you're sharing your experience. make sure that your clients know and that your referral partners know, hey, look at my NMLS number. If you go to NMLS.com, you can look up my NMLS number. It'll tell you my background. We've had a deal that I've been working with a loan officer on that he had to, put back together again because some new loan originator, who was making pizzas 30 days ago or 60 days ago, issued a pre-approval without looking at any information, took the customer's word that everything was so, and as the deal came together, as the docs came together, the deal fell apart. If you're a loan officer with experience, if you're somebody who's done this, make sure that you're sharing people with, here's my NMLS number. Here's how you go find the background of the person who is issuing your pre-approval. And in some cases, there are people actually issuing pre-approval letters. You can't find their license number because it's not even on their letter. That's a topic of another conversation. And the other thing is depending upon who you are and where you work, if you're working as a banker or a correspondent lender, make sure that you're putting out there that's who you are. Because many of the people who you're competing against are working as brokers, and they're telling people they have a pre-approval, and the person who's issuing a pre-approval has no ability to actually lend any money. They have no ability to actually make any decisions. And again, I'm not saying anything negative about the broker channel. I think there are plenty of brokers out there who do a very good job. But the reality of it is, you can't just throw a blanket over it. There are differences between people and what their profession is and where the transaction comes from. I think if you're a broker, I think it's fine that you're a broker, but you need to tell people that you're a broker and that your company has absolutely nothing to do with making a determination as to whether or not these people get money. Now, you can explain your experience, you can explain what you've done, and I think that's fine. But the reality of it is, when people start dancing around the terms, oh, well, it's out for secondary underwrite or whatever, that's code words for the fact that it's never been underwritten by a real person to begin with. It's not secondary. It's actually going to the person who's making the decision whether or not they'll lend the money. Again, this is something that you may want to consider if you're a mortgage professional who has some experience, who's done this for a while. Really making sure that people understand, here's my NMLS number. You can come find me. You can see my experience, because many of the people you're competing against don't have experience. And that may be something that they take into consideration. So it's really important that you understand your process and explain your process for pre-approvals, and understand that the pre-approval process depends a lot on the person who's doing the work and the process that they followed to reach the determination they did as to what this person can and can't do and how quickly it can happen. So really take a good hard look at your pre-approval process. If you've been slow to come around to really fully documenting the pre-approval up front and making that a condition of moving forward is the fact that you do see the items that you need, maybe you think about that, because ultimately getting that stuff up front makes for a smoother transaction from the beginning to the end. And it will help you avoid log jams when they are, least, enjoyable, which is at the very tail end of your deal. So as always, if you have questions or comments, you can reach out to me, Mike, at imtcoaching.com. I hope you guys are having a great week. If you need anything from me, let me know. I'll talk to you again next week. Take care.